Hey folks, how you doing out there? Welcome to another Drinking a Wink. It's not really a whiskey review today. It's going to be a tasting, retasting, and just a little conversation about maybe just, if not a concept, at least just a little thoughtful thinking. That's kind of redundant. On some younger, I call this thing range of potion. I don't like it. I'm already not liking that name. But my idea was, because I hate the word range of motion, the phrase, because I never know what that means either. It's overused. But the range of potion is this idea that we can look at a particular distillery and look at their bottom of the range, okay, the core range bottom, and then look at something a little higher in the range in terms of, well, price and aging and concept. It's a little thin, but we're going to talk about my favorite blended Scotch whiskey company, Dewar's. Okay, well, big one. I have other ones. You know what? I love everything, right? I haven't seen too many whiskeys that I don't like. All right. Well, there's a few, but anyway, I have a red cask today. That's kind of cool. Looking good. Looking red. All right. Looks like I was aged in sherry for a little bit. We were out at the Jazz Fest today. Michelle was doing some backup singing with a bunch of our friends with the wonderful emollient, Elaine Dame with her new project. Well, it was really fun to see her get that project going. I remember talking to her about it a long time ago. Boy, it's great. And like I said, the whole band was a bunch of friends. Yeah, it was great. Then we saw some other friends playing some other stages. Many of them are members of Drinking a Wink. I won't go too, but it was a lot of fun. So, like I said, Michelle was on it. This year I was a civilian, but I'm vowing, right, Michelle, that I'm going to be playing it next year. In some way, shape, or form. But it's always fun to kind of sit back and see how the city has so many different and varied, wonderful players here in the world of jazz. And it's also nice that, yes, maybe this isn't the biggest, most star-studded jazz fest every year, but then the local folks come in and, really do a nice job. And it's free, and it's really cool to see that. There is no element of, the wine and cheese crowd only at these jazz fests. It's really cool. I just really like it. It's a very neat thing. So every time we get out there, if I'm not playing on it, it's still fun to see all that stuff. Let's get to whiskey. One of the things I was kind of thinking about today was just being able to do some of these comparisons and what are these differences in when I'm talking about something that's core range and $20, $30, and then something that's much more expensive. What are some differences? One thing about this that makes it a little challenging is sometimes it's a little hard to tell what the differences are. American whiskey, especially ones that they're not quite so concerned about age statements and years. Sometimes we don't really know what makes, Blanton's and Buffalo Trace core range and even Benchmark are made in the same distillery. And we can do some research about stuff and why this and that, the other thing. But we don't really know that so much. When it comes to single malt Scotch whiskey, we're talking about no age statement stuff. But we know that it has to be 3 years old. But you get a bunch of different, one distillery and you get their no age statement. Maybe they don't have one. And also, a 21-year-old Glenallachie is going to cost a lot of money. All right. So what I decided to do with this on this first one is talk about a blended Scotch whiskey. The company is Dewar's, and we're going to look at their core range. Okay. Now I haven't drank this at home in probably a year. No, I didn't know it was more than a year. A while back, this was on sale. I bought it, and not only has it, we don't drink that much at home, but like, say I brought a bottle of Dewar's out somewhere, one of the smaller bottles, I don't like to bring an open bottle somewhere, but we bring it home. I've been kind of dumping it in there. So this is a blend of Dewar's White Label. I haven't put anything else in there, but it's a blend of Dewar's White Label, and it's been open a while, okay? We're going to compare that with the Dewar's Double 21. This was a wonderful addition that Stephanie McLeod put out. Stephanie McLeod is the master blender for Dewar's. That also means I'm going to get all of them. I'm going to get some of them wrong. I'm not going to get them all, but Deveron, more importantly, one of our favorites, Craig Alecki, I can't remember, Aberfeldy, definitely. She's doing a lot of work on that, and everything that she does, especially for this Dewar's company, is fascinating and good. Okay, it's not the end, not all of it is the best whiskey you're ever going to drink, but that was really cool. But this is a 21-year-old bottle. Our buddy Mike let us taste it once, or maybe maybe we had the 27. I can't really remember. Maybe it was a 21. And yeah, Dewar's blended Scotch whiskey at a 21-year-old age is going to be really, very, very, very expensive. What Stephanie McLeod did was put it in this nice, cool bottle, and they sold it at $3.75. So we were able to get a hold of this. If we bought it a couple years ago, I think maybe it would have been something like an anniversary time, and it's still holding in there. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. So let me tell you first, and really, I'm going to give you some information, and then do some tasting. Dewar's White Label, we don't really know much about it. It's going to be a blend of single malt Scotch whiskey and grain whiskey. All right, and gotta time this today. But anyway, oh, great music. We don't know a whole lot about it. The only thing that we need to know is that if it's got Scotch, the word Scotch on a label, we know that it is at least 3 years old. Okay. On their label, it's bottled at 40%. A selection of fine whiskeys aged in oak casks, then carefully blended together. All right, you're going to get that on Dewar's White Label. There is an oak flavor there that it just pops out. I drink Dewar's all the time. Sometimes, and sometimes I was reminded of our friend Christy today. Sometimes when us musicians that fancy whiskeys, right, are out doing a gig, we're not going to drop half of our gig money, even if we get a discount, on something really, really, really fancy and out of this world. Sometimes we I want some whiskey. I just want it. We want it. It's it. I will have Dewar's sometimes with a cube on gigs. Sometimes if I want to drink, sometimes I don't drink on a gig, but that's what I'll do. It's lightweight. It's just a nice little relaxer, and that's it. I don't know why I went off on that, but that's it. Yeah, okay. Let people drink what they want. All right. I'm never going to tell you not to drink something or give you some suggestions. Why are you? I'm giving you suggestions. I'm giving you recommendations. I'm giving you a little information. The Dewar's Double 21 is a completely different thing. It's kind of a unique idea here in that it is why it's called the Double is because it's a 4-stage aging process. So let me see if I can put this all together. So what they do is they age and blend. Very few companies of this product or this type this is not a single barrel kind of concept. So they're going to age malt whiskey and they're going to age grain whiskey in various barrels. Okay, so I'm going to use a much smaller number. Let's say there's 10 barrels of malt whiskey and there's 10 barrels of grain whiskey. Okay, that's going to sit and mature, and then what they do is they take those barrels and dump them into a larger tank to blend that batch together. That's step one. So that's the first aging. Then they put them back into barrels to marry that blend of whiskeys. They're still separate. Then that's stage 2. Stage 3 is now they're going to combine the malt whiskey and the grain whiskey and age it again. Okay, now they've combined that, blended that together, and age it again. And then finally, the 4th stage is where they're going to finish that in I think it was ex Oloroso sherry casks. Okay, I think it said it on here. Yeah, finished in Oloroso sherry casks. So that's what they're doing. They're bottling at 46%, putting in a cool, crazy bottle and a nice package. That's it. You can see here, you're going to notice this right away. You can see there's a vast color. I do not have to tell you, with one being aged in sherry cask or finished in sherry cask, which one is the 21. Michelle, which one is the 21? She's drinking a martini that I just made. Which one is the 21? Yeah, okay, she got it. Okay, you can just see it. It's a little more redder. It's a little. It has that distinct sherry finished note, and it has, it's been in aging a lot longer. Okay, so keep in mind again when you see that 21 on there, nothing in this bottle can be younger than 21 years. Okay, it could be older, but it can't be younger. That's what you get with an age statement in single malt Scotch whiskey. I'm sorry, any Scotch whiskey. Okay, not blended or single malt. And again, you're gonna take a combination of single malt whiskeys to make your blend the malt side. Okay, and then you're gonna add the grain side. So we'll start with the Dewar's 21 first. On the nose, a little bit of honey. This has been around a while. It's not flat, but it's, a little bit of oak, vanilla. Big punch of oak, a little bit of pear. On the taste, you can tell this is not first fill sherry or first fill cask, meaning these were some. First fill means they've got some bourbon casks from the United States, and they pour it in there right after that has been dumped. Okay, they have to clean it a little bit, but there could still be some juice in there. That's first fill. Second fill means they've already aged whiskey in the cask, Scotch whiskey. Let me get that again. You got a bourbon cask. You dump it. We all drink it over here. They send the casks over to Scotland. First fill means the first batch that you put in there and age there. It's kind of like extra virgin olive oil, all right? That's first fill. Then you dump that, you sell it, all that, and then you start reusing those casks. That's second fill or refill casks. There's definitely a note of that here, and there's going to be a note of that in the other one. The oak notes are there. A little bit more. Oak, vanilla. A little bit of just a small hint of a little bit of peat or a little bit of smoke, but not much. Okay, great. Like I said, I don't even know what a $7.50 bottle costs now. $20, something like that. Okay, maybe no, $16, $17. Goodbye. Okay, the 21. Right away, you're going to get a difference in that. Sherry cask influence is all over this. Let me see. Smells richer, a little more nutty, a little bit more, dark fruits, little blackberry note. Okay. On the taste. That's the difference. Is there's depth there, and there's a concept here. Okay, not saying that this is not, but what you're getting here is some complexity. Again, on the nose, you're definitely getting a little more earthiness. You're definitely getting that cherry influence. On the taste, you want to keep doing the chew on it. Okay, I'm not actually grating my teeth, but I'm kind of pretending that I'm chewing it in a way, because that's where it brings out little raisin notes, hints of cinnamon notes. Then towards the end of that, as it gets into the finish, we're getting a little dark, little bit leathery note, a little bit of a chocolate note. On the end, blended whiskey, It is at 46%. It's a little thin. But the literally the graininess here, both in terms of texture that the Dewar's regular white label has, and it's just getting covered a little bit in a nice way. The one thing that I know about this is not one that is doing a high percentage of malt whiskey to grain whiskey here. That's the difference between this and single malt Scotch whiskey. When you drink single malt Scotch whiskey, you are drinking 100% malted barley distillate. There is a weight to it. There is a stickiness to it. I mean, not like actually it sticks to your hands, but there's a grip to it that lower, like maybe this is 50-50 single malt Scotch to grain whiskey. There's more. This is getting closer to that feeling, but that's what is kind of missing. And I normally get that on the finish. Is at the end, that's where it's a little thinner. There are some blended Scotches that have a higher malt to other grain quotient or ratio. McLean's Nose comes to mind, or I don't want to use a vatted malt so McLean's Nose. Hard to say. This is. I said vatted malt. If you don't know what that means, I'm using an old term. That's called a blended malt. So if you did the first process was just you had aged single malt Scotch whiskey from 3 different distilleries, perfectly acceptable. You pour them together, it ceases to be single malt Scotch whiskey, but it is still a blend of different single malt Scotch whiskeys. So that is a blended malt. Okay. As soon as you add some other distillate from other grains, corn, rice, whatever, wheat, I don't know. Okay, is rice a grain? Yeah. Well, anyway, you get the picture. That's when it ceases to be a malted blend. Okay. I've explained that so many times to you, and I still don't ever know that it really makes sense. Think of it like cheese and where am I going with this? Cheese and crackers. All right. If you take cheese and you eat it from one place, the Cheese Palace in Wisconsin, okay, that is a single malt. Okay. If you buy cheeses from the Cheese Palace and the Cheese Shed and the Cheese Garage, it doesn't sound so great, from Wisconsin, and you blend that together. You melt it and you blend it together. Now you have a cheese blend. Okay, pretty good, still pretty good, but it's not from one place. If you then take your crackers and you crunch them up and you put them in that cheese, now you have a blended cheese thing. It didn't work so well. It's been a long day. We did a lot of walking around. I'm not going to apologize for that tired analogy. Going back to Dewar's is tough. Again, it doesn't. It's good. Maybe that since this bottle has been opened a little bit, and like I said, this is a very good cap on top, but just it might be a little bit old, if you will. That might not have quite the zing of it, but I still enjoy Dewar's from time to time, and it's just a nice little passive whiskey. It does not, in case you didn't know, let's talk about the big three. To me, let's say Chivas Regal. Chivas Regal has a little bit more of a honeyed note and a little bit more of a slightly floral note. Johnny Walker and we're not talking about red, so it's not really a fair comparison because you don't want to drink red just like this in a fancy glass. But we're talking about Black Label. There is more peat there. There's also more colorant added, and it has a caramel flavor almost a little bit, or a Coca-Cola flavor. A lot of, as much as they are coloring that pretty heavy. Even though it's 12 years old, it has a shade that's a little different. This one kind of features the oak notes of it a little bit. So there's more peated quotient. Kalila is one of them that I understand is in Johnny Walker. Here we're getting a little hint of it, but it's not as much as that. You know, I'm going to give this a proper chew. I rushed through this, and that was not great because I'm not giving it its due. I chewed the 21 quite a bit. Let's just put it that way. I didn't do it on this one, and yeah, doing that more enhanced the flavor. This is not for shooting. What I mean chew is get it around, up and down, and you're going to get more flavor out of this. This is just taking a little more time with it instead of just gulping it. Has improved this whiskey incredibly. That's what whiskey's about. It's not about popping it back and killing it, all right? And it's not about challenges. There you go. I think it's just like, you know, passively watching something, passively listening to something. We're deeply listening to it. So having it stay in the taste phase after you've nosed it, it'll improve this whiskey by like 15%. Now, I'm going to go back to the 21 and check it out. I'm sure the prices have gone up a little bit, but if you really want to try, you know, bigger brand, older age whiskey, and you can't do it in the single malt arena, this is going to be a great choice, right? You've had this before, I know, many times, or a few times. This double 21. There's a cinnamony note. There's a blackberry, like I have right here. Little bit of a, I don't say figs, but raisin note for sure. That's coming from the, you know, more time in probably a good quality sherry cask, and it's just very, very tasty. If you can swing it, I'm going to recommend this one highly. Okay, to be honest, the Dewar 21. Like I said, I remember it being in the $50 to $60 range. It might be a little higher now, but yeah, it's very, very tasty. And again, you have no idea what 21-year-old whiskey tastes like. Here's a chance to do it at a more reasonable price. Yeah, it's only a $375 bottle, or 375 milliliter bottle, but it's worth it. And if you're going to have a bar staple and you might want to try to experiment with some Scotch cocktails, you could do. I'm not going to say this is a very average whiskey. Let me say it that way, but let me put it this way: you could do worse and pay more money than the Dewar's White Label. These days, the price difference between Dewar's White Label and then the step up to the 12-year-old, which used to be called the Ancestor, it's like $7-8 difference. I would buy the 12 now. I don't know that I'll ever buy this again because the 12 is a really great whiskey. Also, Stephanie McLeod has changed that to that I mentioned this before, but they have taken what used to be also refill bourbon barrels, and now it is first fill bourbon barrels on that. So that gives it a much zingier, nuttier note. And I should have pulled that up here in another contrast, but that's it. Dewar's White Label, I will always have it here when I make Rob Roy's. It's a nice little choice when I'm out at a bar and maybe the club is like you could have a drink, have one drink, or they're going to discount or give you the first one free. I'm not an arrogant musician. That's how you lose gigs. I'm not going to ask for Macallan 12. And quite frankly, I don't necessarily need to have Macallan 12. I'll ask for some Dewars, one cube. The bartender knows that I'm, smart and not over, asking for too much. And then the band that I'm working with, and the leader is like, hey, you didn't, drink $100 worth of whiskey. That's another reason why you can hire me as a drummer, because you know that I might, if it's offered, I might have a drink, but I will never get out of control on it, because I'm great. We're not drinking Malort. We're not drinking shots. I don't want to be a snob about. I'm not a snob about whiskeys. You can drink any whiskey you want, but I am snob about perhaps your consumption. All right, how are you doing it? Are you really tasting it? Do you know what's going on? So there you go. Okay, refresher. Pour yourself a little whiskey. When you get good at this, and I don't know which glass was which, but I can do it by the nose. This was the 21 glass. Pour yourself. I'm not going to pour a full dram here. The dram is usually about up to this first part here on the bulb. You can roll it around a little bit. Don't shake it. Okay. Coat the glass on there. That's a nice little way. That's another way to do it. And I've showed you this before. I can't show you on the table, but if you have these glasses, you can just sit there and leave it like that. And do a little bit of rolling on there, and that coats the side of the glass. You take that nose, and now you're getting it. Things happen when some of it gets on the side of the glass and it just starts to evaporate. Nose it lightly at first, and then get a big one. All right. 5-6 seconds. It is a big change. Okay. This 21 is great. We're about, we got about a quarter of this left. We might have to get another one of these at some point. It's just very, very tasty. Anyway, that's it. If you're in Chicago, you still have 2 more days to go out and check out the Jazz Fest. We have plenty of other friends. Not unfortunately, because I need to work too, but I got a gig tomorrow night. I got something else going on. We might get back here to see some more stuff on Sunday. But check it out if you're in this area. Okay, go down. It's free. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. All right, yeah, that we went down there today, and everything's under control. Everybody's acting cool. It's great. It's almost like we don't need the military to show up here, or the National Guard. There's no problems, man. Everybody's just digging music, talking, good friends, all people from all stripes and sorts and areas, hanging out at a really wonderful place. The weather couldn't have been better. Yeah, so I'll finish it up with a little pride for my city, a little pride for Chicago Jazz too. It's really good. So that's it. All right. I remember there's a story of the great jazz pianist. I might get her name a little wrong, but I've known of her forever. Rini Rosnes, who was in an elevator once, and Trump said that he hates jazz. She overheard that. If I'm misquoting her, it's great. That's wrong, but in any case, yeah, this guy, it's not my kind of guy.